Alright, how we doing, ladies and gentlemen, over on the YouTube side of things? This is going to be my build guide for my Kinetic Blast Poison Pathfinder. This is an alteration slash alternate style of build to my Scourge Arrow Pathfinder that I'm sure most of you will be wondering how this came out of complete left field. Long story short is that I wanted to play a KB Wander for quite a while, and I actually figured out that I can just switch my Scourge Arrow character to Kinetic Blast, and because of Poison and Pathfinder Poison Prolif, it actually works quite well. This is the map that I'll be running for the showcase. It's in the background, so the reason I have two hands right here is I'm not actually playing. Me being able to do this sort of thing is a lot smarter of an idea, so I can maintain my thought process while actually recording the gameplay itself. Now, one thing I will warn you about is this is a speed farming character. This character was designed to do a lot of sulfite and delve stuff because I have something that I'm going to be doing relatively soon that involves that. So I wanted to get as much sulfite and farm as fast as possible, and this style of character was built exactly for that. Not a fantastic bosser. It can do bosses if you learn how to shotgun correctly with Kinetic Blast. You have to bounce the projectiles off a wall or on a wall. So then if you manage to move the boss towards a wall and throw a ton of attacks at them, then you can kill bosses reasonably quickly, but it's still not great. I would not attempt Metamorphs with this personally. As I said, good for map farming. Metamorphs is a bit risky and not that great all in all. Basically, to play this, I didn't really change a lot out of my Pathfinder previously. I changed on a wand. I had a shield that was pretty god roll. I'll show you in a moment after we let a little bit of the gameplay roll. And I got some new poison stuff, and I had to actually level the Kinetic Blast from level 1. So I spent a couple of attempts crafting a wand. I used physical fossils, didn't really get anywhere. I saw a wand on Reddit that had 500 DPS, and I was like, man, I wish I could make something like that, considering mine's 175 or something like that, but it still works just fine. The way that this build works is it does chaos damage mostly, and some physical damage as well, which is where the wand is actually useful in the build. Because poison is a combination of, I believe, 20% of your chaos damage of the initial hit and 20% of the physical damage, or some shit like that. That might have been a different calculation for something else, but it's just numbers at this point. But that means that you want to be doing multiple hits all the time, which is what Kinetic Blast is doing. It's doing many hits, as I'm sure you can see. And because we're relying on the chaos damage and the poison damage to do all of our DPS, it means that when we run things like Greater Volley or Greater Multiple Projectiles, the 35% less projectile damage that it gives us doesn't actually do anything in regards to nuking our damage. It actually gives us more damage because we get more blasts, which means we get more poisons, which means we get more poison stacks. Now, where this is getting insane is not only is Kinetic Blast good on its own, but because of the poison proliferation, which means when something dies of poison, it poisons everything around it. When you're in big packs, everything's dying and poisoning, and everything's getting 40 poison stacks and just exploding. It's fantastic. Character is insanely fast. This is actually before I dropped a Devoto's helmet. I don't remember the entire name of it right now. But I have that on right now for speed farming, because I'm farming a humility, farming a tabula, and it's kind of a pain in the ass, but it is a whole lot faster. I'm not going to show you the boss because the boss is not really great. Also, I get one shot, and bam. That's the only problem this build has, is obviously it's built for speed farming. So as a result, you may get clapped every once in a while, especially since they buffed a lot of the bosses now. So do be warned, you may get one tapped, may happen. But yeah. Alright, let's go over the gear, and then I'll show you the skill tree that we are rolling with. My wand is nothing spectacular. You can very easily make this and or something a lot better. Funnily enough, this is a lot easier to craft than the fucking bow that I was trying to make previously with the Scourge Arrow incarnation. That was driving me completely wild, which is part of the reason why I switched over to this, and I crafted it very easily. You're going to want an imbued wand base, and you're going to want to try and get cannot roll caster mods or that sort of stuff, and then potentially chaos roll through that. and try and get some a physical wand. You can use fossils for this. That's what I used to begin with, and then I just transmuted it and alterationed it until I got the tier 2 added fizz, then regaled it. It was tier 2 added fizz, attack speed, then I regaled it and crafted fizz damage. I can actually craft more on it. Do I have the currency right now? I don't. But what I can do is if I put in one-handed wand, I can actually craft up to 99%. So I just don't have the chaos to do that right now, so this can go even higher. And that is how you boost most of your damage, is getting DPS in regards to the wand. Alright, now for everything else, we have Devoto's Devotion, which is something I only put on recently to increase farming speed, and it does so tremendously. It is fantastic, because of course we don't care much about the global physical damage, we're doing mostly chaos anyways, but the attack speed is where it's at. Now, it may look a little low in here, right, but I have attack speed on my flask, I have attack speed on the helmet, I have a high attack speed wand, I have blood rage for frenzy charges and all that sort of stuff, and it starts to get really fucking good. So I'm going to cover the gems as I go as well. It's been a little while, I apologize. We got a cast when damage taken stone golem in here for life regeneration, just passively. Fantastic there. In the helmet we have a Herald of Agony with minion damage, damage on full life, and vicious projectiles. This is the best damage setup for Herald of Agony. Herald of Agony gives you poison damage, a more multiplier to poison damage, as well as does good damage just on its own. So Herald of Agony is fantastic. The other helmet that I was running before I managed to drop a fucking Devoto's in Solo Self-Found was this helmet, which is life, res, rarity, with +2 to socketed minion gems. You'll see it's the exact same coloring because that's just where I've moved it from. This gives all of these +2 while it's connected to Herald of Agony, which is just great. So lots of extra damage coming out of that, and Herald of Agony can hold its own. You will have problems maintaining 40 virulence on bosses sometimes, but as I said, not a great bosser in the first place, so you are just going to kind of struggle. But that's just how it goes. Moving downwards, we have my Amulet, which is allocates diamond skin, attributes, physical to attacks, increased chaos damage, added chaos to attacks. This thing kind of fucking sucks. It's there for the all attributes, and chaos damage is pretty nice. What I was going to allocate, actually, and I guess I can do now because I have all the stuff to do it, is Corruption up over here for increased damage over time, chaos damage over time, and increased chaos damage. This is the cheapest chaos damage multiplier that you can actually anoint, because all the other ones require the golden oil or whatever it is. So I'm going to be anointing that in place of diamond skin once I resort my resistances and all that sort of stuff. Best damage multiplier since we're using chaos damage, or you can go for a poison based thing if you want to as well. They're about net neutral. It just depends what you have for oils. So all in all, kind of shitty, needs to be replaced, but it's whatever. The biggest thing is adds chaos damage to attacks on all of your jewelry, because it adds a ton of damage. I'll show you later on when I pull up the Path of Building how useful it actually is. Shield, we're looking at a pretty god roll shield. We got very good life with hybrid life, the craftable prefix that I don't really have anything good for, and then tri-res. AoE Plague Bearer with dash. Plague Bearer is incredible. Fantastic. It surprised me the most out of anything during this character's sort of experiment. I'd recommend using it on any poison build you play. Then on the chest piece, I have a 5-link Dendrobait, which gives me a soft 6-link. I am running with Kinetic Blast, Deadly Ailments, Added Chaos, Greater Volley, which, as I said, doesn't affect our damage whatsoever and gives us a bunch of projectiles. You can run GMP if you prefer that. I actually like Volley personally, but if you like GMP, use GMP. Doesn't make a single difference to my knowledge. And then Unbound Ailments down at the bottom, and then we get level 10 Lesser Poison Support passively. Now, another thing in regards to this is you get 80% increased poison damage when you have at least 300 Dexterity. And you get poison duration if you have at least 150 intelligence. You're going to want to make sure you get those amounts. Also, the wand that I'm using requires 188 int to use in the first place. So, I mean, if you want to use the wand, you should have enough to use Dendrobait anyways. Then I have Stygian Vise. Words are fucking hard, man. I'm doing my best, but my brain's like going at a mile a minute. I don't know why. Life, res, dex, int. This is the extra little bit of int that I needed at the time. With a searching eye, chance to gain onslaught on kill. This is all you really need for onslaught on most characters, just a 4% jewel, and it works just fine. It has life and chaos to attacks. Low rolls, but the life is what matters here. And yeah, good enough in my opinion. I mean, if you're rich, put your headhunter there, but still, it's like 120x in this league. It's kind of insane. Then I have a shitty extra ring with life that needs to become added chaos to attacks for damage. This is here because it's got intelligence on it and it puts me over my int cap. Then we have another ring that's actually pretty good. Res, chaos res, lightning res, life, chaos to attacks. Then I have shoes with 30% move speed, so I have 30%, 20%, adrenaline, quicksilver, and Pathfinder to auto refill it. It's pretty damn funny. Pretty fast. This is res, crafted life, move speed. Pretty good all around. Steel skin, cast when damage taken. This is 11 and 16. Then we have a level 20 blood rage. You could cast when this if you want. You could even use the casts blood rage on kill thing if you wanted to as well. Then the big moneymaker is the curse enemies with level 12 despair on hit gloves. I got these day 1 of the league and they have been insane. They're great for this, they're great for the Scourge Arrow version, they're just great in general. The best gloves you can get for the build though is the Embalmers. So because it has the added chaos damage and it has poison duration, both of which are really good for the build. If you can buy a pair of despair corrupted Embalmers in Trade League, go wild. I'd recommend it. It's better than the pile of trash I have here. I also have a pair of Tomb Fists. I'm not gonna, recommend those because solo self-found. Obviously, you're probably not gonna get Tomb Fists at any point, but still. I got Dendrobate as a raw drop. The way I'd recommend getting it is probably Einhar as much as possible. Devotos, good luck. As I said, I was using the helmet that I showcased earlier, which I've now seemed to have lost. It's in here somewhere. The one that has +2 minion gems. I got that and it came corrupted. It was just as it dropped. So, yeah, it was pretty good. Flasks, instant life flask, bleed removal, Aziri's Promise. Aziri is a massive pain in the ass right now. She's a lot harder. She was for me. But, I mean, it's worth it to get the flask because this thing gives you a ton of damage. Then we have a % damage flask with freeze and chill removal. And then we have a enduring flask of acceleration. This is actually very, very important because we have most of our mana reserved since we're running Malevolence in here combined with Herald of Agony. We basically have no mana. What enduring allows you to do is stack the flask effect. So look down here, right? You can drink all the flasks. Hands off my keyboard. It'll auto refresh. And this also keeps going during, or while you're like spending mana, right? It doesn't cut itself off like a normal mana potion, as is. Will just fill up to the top and then stop. Whereas enduring isn't removed at full mana, so it just keeps perpetually ticking, which is fantastic for characters that don't have a lot of mana. Also, as I said, if you spam the button, you can overlay the flask, and it'll just keep ticking itself. I actually need to move that so you can see it and watch it like reset. There you go. That's, yeah. It's not a macro. It's nothing. Promise. Don't ban me, GGG. It's actually not a macro. It's in the game. And then Adrenaline, Alchemist, Quicksilver. This was a pretty good roll. Okay, so that is that. Let me show you what the path of building looks like and what our top end sort of stuff looks like, as well as the skill tree in just a second. So we've got our side wand. This was one of the other rolls that I had. If you're going for high fizz, that's preferable. Wand base, you want imbued. You can also do prophecy if you want like more raw damage, but I actually prefer 1.5 attack speed over the 1.2 attack speed wands a lot. Like, I've messed around with all of them. It's a lot better, I'll be entirely honest with you. So, I mean, use it whatever you want, right? But, yeah. Dendrobate, obviously, Embalmers, Corrupted. Then here's where it's going to get a little hard in SSF, but if you're in Trade League, grab a Witchfire Brew and grab one of these signatures here, your damage goes up quite nicely. Obviously, farming DPS. We've got enough DPS to clear. I was playing it in tier 11 and 12, can easily go to 16 with no worries whatsoever. You might have some problems with the boss, but farming-wise, you're more than fine. So farming DPS, and then we're focusing on speed past this point. My next goal would be more than likely survivability. I'm not too sure how to go about getting more of that on Ranger, obviously. More than likely, more life. But, yeah. So, grab both of these. Witchfire Brew will give you Despair Aura, so you don't have to use the Despair on hit anymore if you don't want to. Despair Aura will be fantastic for delving. That'll work amazingly. Or you can just corrupt the Embalmers with Despair on hit because you're a god. Or just buy them in Trade League. And, yeah, so that's the skills and whatnot. So let's cover the skill tree. We're going to start with the Ascendancy because I actually did a video once and forgot the fucking Ascendancy, which I was kind of impressed with. First 3 points is going to be Nature's Reprisal, Master Toxicist, and Nature's Boon. What these are is Nature's Reprisal is Chaos skills have increased AoE, deal increased Chaos damage when you kill a poisoned enemy during any flask effect. Nearby enemies are poisoned. We are constantly with a Quicksilver up, with damage flasks up. You kind of get the memo. That's our poison proliferation. It's like saying Synthesis League all over again. All of the poisons explode once you kill the guy, and then he poisons everything around him. And it's perpetual, right? Everything else does it as well. It's fantastic. Master Toxicist makes us lose virulence 50% slower, which means we can keep up our Herald of Agony. And poisons you inflict during any flask effect have a 40% chance to deal 100% more damage. Fantastic, proccable DPS. It'll be up pretty much 24/7. If you stack all of them and you get really lucky, your boss could die faster than normal. Then we have Nature's Boon, which is the main reason you play Pathfinder. Let's be wholly honest here. Flasks gain 3 charges every 3 seconds. These are auto-refilling flasks that are great for when you get clapped and have to run all the way back through a map because you forgot to drop a portal. Such is my life. And lastly, after you get your 4th trial, get Nature's Adrenaline for movement speed and attack speed. We are a very, very fast character. Alright, now this is a very rough setup that I have going on because I basically just took the setup out of my Scourge Arrow Pathfinder. Let me switch this over here. And just kind of rolled with that. So there's a few things that I still need to tweak a little bit. There's like the channeling stuff like right there that I can cut. There's bow damage stuff that can be cut, that sort of stuff. But this tree is for 81, and it should serve you just fine. Some of this stuff can go, like the bow damage. There was, where is it? There was bow damage here that was taken. There's damage over time with bow skills in certain places. But this sort of tree will generally do you just fine. So we start off down at the bottom, pick up all of our life, come out here, get the dexterity node, and then from here we go straight up and rush straight to Method of Madness, or Method to the Madness. I leveled as Toxic Rain, and then went Caustic Arrow, and then I switched to Kinetic Blast later on in the game. You can probably go Poison KB quite early. I'm not entirely sure in regards to that. You could also level Contagion Essence Drain if you wanted to, and probably get decent results as well running double wands. I think you'd probably be fine with that, because we're getting a lot of Chaos over time multi. The poison stuff wouldn't really affect it all that much, but still. And then from there we have Life, Mana Reserve. This is great, so you can squeeze out that extra little bit of damage from Herald of Agony, while still being able to maintain your mana pool. It's basically required. Then we have Chaos over time multi. The damage with bow stuff is obviously a holdover from the previous version, but it gives you poison damage up the fucking wazoo, so might as well. Then we get more poison damage here. We come down, we get Phase Acro, or we get Acro and Phase Acro. Then we get a Jewel slot, and then we're going to eventually get the Frenzy Charge here. Grab that Frenzy Charge, as well as the one that is up here, to get more speed and more damage. This build is all about farming and speed, right? So, Jewel, you want any combination of Chaos over time, added Chaos to attacks if you want to use an Abyss Jewel, would be pretty good as well. Area damage is pretty good, that sort of stuff. Attack speed with wands is even better. Life, poison, pop down, life, poison, pop over here, poison, life, jewel. Come back up here, and we go up for life, dex, and int. Grab the entropy for damage over time, cut through here, life, damage over time, or chaos damage. Frenzy charge, life, and you get the memo. That's pretty much the character. That is the path of building planned tree. This is the tree that I'm playing on my character currently. I'll just show you around here real quickly. This is my current tree. You can see I haven't spec'd out of the bow stuff and the character that I'm playing because I plan to go back to the Scourge Arrow character, or the Scourge Arrow variant, and make a build guide on that too. So I'm not spec'ing everything out entirely just yet. I went up here to get the extra little bit of intelligence, and I put the other few points in the Frenzy Charge. I'll be also grabbing this one to go that much faster. Combined with the Devotos now, we're starting to turn into Sonic the Hedgehog with a wand. So it's quite good, all in all. Grab both intelligence nodes and look to anoint corruption up here. If you want to anoint something else, so you need intelligence and you couldn't care less about getting corruption, come over and anoint utmost intellect. I was going to say intelligence. My fucking brain's malfunctioning, but still. Plus 40 int and 8% increased intelligence will be great for solving your stat-based problems. And that is pretty much the character. Honestly, it is a lot of fun. And there's probably a whole topic in regards to recycling characters into something you can find interesting again. Because what I found was when I played Scourge Arrow was I had a pretty good time with it, but after playing it for 2 to 3-ish weeks now, I started to get a little bit bored. So I was like, well, I don't really want to level again, even though I'm going to be leveling after rolling some insane stuff for a different archetype entirely. But I didn't really want to level, and I had wanted to play a KB Wander for quite a while, so I was wondering if I could, transition it. And as a result, I've now got an entirely differently playing character that's a whole lot of fun. It's actually fresh again, without losing any of the progress, while keeping most of the gear and that sort of stuff. If you're ever bored of a character, think about ways you can transition it into something that can keep you interested again. Yeah, sure, it might not be as good as the original incarnation, right? I still have to take out my bow damage stuff, right, if I wanted to play just as the Wander, which honestly at this point I might. Because with the amount of a pain in the ass making my bow is, we're doing a lot better right now than I would be without the fucking bow that I need. So yeah, that's my my little conversation on rehashing old characters. It's doable, it's actually quite good, and it's quite satisfying when you make something worth your time. That's going to be all for me, and as always, take care, gentlemen.